Before God blesses you, he will do this, ladies and gentlemen. There's a pattern in life that many people overlook. A process that happens before every breakthrough, before every blessing, before every transformation. It's a process that doesn't always feel good, that doesn't always make sense, but is absolutely necessary. Because before God blesses you, he prepares you. And that preparation is not always easy. You might find yourself losing things you thought you needed. You might feel stuck in a waiting season that tests your patience. You might face resistance that makes you question whether you're on the right path. Your faith will be stretched in ways you never expected. And just when you think you're ready, you might find yourself feeling more alone than ever before. But what if all of this isn't happening to break you down? What if it's happening to build you up? Because before God blesses you, he will strip away what's not meant for you. He will challenge your patience to prepare you for greater things. He will allow resistance to shape you. He will test your faith to make sure you're ready. And before he elevates you, he will isolate you, not to harm you, but to transform you into the person who can handle the blessing that's coming next. Before God blesses you, he strips away what's not meant for you. It's uncomfortable, sometimes even painful, but it's necessary. We have a habit of holding on to things that no longer serve us. We cling to relationships that have expired, jobs that drain our energy, habits that limit our potential. And then we wonder why we feel stuck, why we feel lost, why we feel like nothing is moving forward. But what if I told you that God isn't ignoring you? He's removing the things that are holding you back. Think about it. When a gardener wants a plant to grow, he prunes it. He cuts away the dead branches, the excess leaves, the parts that are consuming energy but producing nothing in return. To someone who doesn't understand the process, it might look like destruction. But the gardener knows exactly what he's doing. He's creating space for new growth. He's making sure that the plant doesn't waste its energy on things that will never bear fruit. And that's exactly what God does in our lives. He removes the people who don't support us, the opportunities that are distractions, the comforts that keep us from evolving. It doesn't always make sense at the time. We resist. We ask, oh, why is this happening to me? We try to hold on. But the longer we resist, the longer we delay what's coming next. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. At the start of your journey, you're carrying a heavy backpack filled with things you think you need. But as the climb gets steeper, the weight starts to slow you down. The higher you go, the more you realize that some things need to be left behind if you want to reach the top. And that's exactly what happens before God blesses you. He lightens your load. He removes the unnecessary. He forces you to let go of things that you thought you needed, only to show you that you're better off without them. We tend to measure blessings by what we receive, but sometimes the greatest blessings come from what we lose. The friend who walked away, the door that closed, the plan that didn't work out. These things might feel like disappointments, but in reality, they are divine redirections. Because when God takes something away, it's only to make room for something better. Look back at your life. Think about a time when you lost something or someone you thought you couldn't live without. It hurt, didn't it? It made you question everything. But now, with time and perspective, you can see that it was necessary. You can see that if you had held on, you wouldn't be where you are today. And that's the point. Growth requires letting go. Elevation requires sacrifice. And before God blesses you, he will strip away what's not meant for you. He will challenge your patience to prepare you for greater things. Patience is not just about waiting. It's about how you wait. It's about what you do in the waiting period. It's easy to be patient when everything is going well, when doors are opening, when opportunities are flowing. But real patience is tested in silence and delay, in the moments when nothing seems to be happening. There's a reason why the most successful people, the strongest leaders, the most impactful individuals all have stories of waiting, of struggle, of uncertainty. Because before great things happen, there is always a period of preparation. And preparation takes time, it takes patience, it takes endurance. When God is preparing you for something bigger, he doesn't just give it to you immediately. He tests your ability to handle it. He watches how you respond to obstacles. He observes how you react when things don't go your way. Because if you can't handle small delays, how will you handle big responsibilities? If you can't trust the process, how will you trust the promise? Think about an athlete training for a championship. They don't just show up on game day and expect to win. They spend months, even years training. They push their limits. They strengthen their weaknesses. They practice the same movements over and over again. It's repetitive, it's exhausting, and sometimes it feels like nothing is changing. But every day they are getting stronger. Every day they are becoming better, even if they can't see it in the moment. That's what patience looks like. It's showing up, even when you don't see immediate results. It's trusting that the work you're putting in today is preparing you for something greater tomorrow. It's understanding that just because something isn't happening right now doesn't mean it's not happening at all. Look at anyone who has achieved something remarkable, and you'll see a story of patience. The author who spent years writing a book that no one wanted to publish until one day it became a bestseller. The entrepreneur who struggled with failures, setbacks, and financial losses until one day the right opportunity came along. The musician who played in empty rooms waiting for someone to notice until one day their talent reached the right ears. The waiting season is never wasted. It's shaping you. It's refining you. It's teaching you things that you can't learn any other way. When things don't happen as quickly as you want, it's not a punishment, it's preparation. Because sometimes the worst thing that can happen is getting a blessing too soon. Imagine giving a 10-year-old the responsibility of running a company. No matter how talented they are, no matter how smart they might be, they are not ready. They need time to grow, to develop the skills, to gain experience. It's not that they will never be ready, it's that they are not ready yet. And that's how God works. He doesn't just give you what you want when you ask for it. He gives it to you when you are prepared to handle it. But most people struggle with this. They want shortcuts. They want quick success, instant results, immediate gratification. But anything that comes too fast usually doesn't last. Because patience builds character. It builds wisdom. It builds resilience. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it. You nurture. You trust that in the right time, it will break through the soil. You trust that even when you can't see the roots forming, growth is happening beneath the surface. And that's exactly what happens in life. You may not see the progress, but it's there. You may not feel like anything is changing, but it is. The challenge of patience is not just about waiting for the blessing. It's about becoming the person who is ready for the blessing. It's about developing the discipline, the mindset, the strength required to handle what's coming next. It's about proving not to God, but to yourself that you are capable, that you are ready, that you are prepared for what's ahead. Finish thinking. You will face resistance, but that's where you grow. Resistance is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's often proof that you're exactly where you need to be. The moment you start stepping into something bigger, the moment you begin to pursue something greater, you will encounter obstacles. Challenges will come. People will doubt you. Plans will fall apart. Things that once seemed easy will suddenly become difficult. And in those moments, it's tempting to think, maybe this isn't meant for me. But what if the resistance isn't a sign to turn back? What if it's actually the very thing that is shaping you for what's ahead? Think about how muscles grow. If you've ever lifted weights, you know that the process isn't comfortable. When you challenge your muscles with resistance, they break down. Tiny fibers tear apart. But in that breaking down, something incredible happens. They rebuild stronger than before. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without challenge, there is no progress. The same principle applies in life. Every difficulty, every setback, every moment of struggle is breaking you down, not to weaken you, but to make you stronger. Look at anyone who has achieved something meaningful. They didn't get there without resistance. Every successful entrepreneur has faced failure. Every great athlete has experienced defeat. Every influential leader has dealt with rejection. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, not luck, not even intelligence. It's the ability to keep going despite the resistance. It's the ability to look at obstacles not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones. The resistance you face is refining you. It's preparing you. It's forcing you to dig deeper, to develop skills you never thought you needed, to build endurance you didn't know you had. And the truth is, if things came easily, you wouldn't value them the same way. If success required no effort, if growth required no struggle, you wouldn't appreciate it when it arrived. Every person who has ever done something significant has had moments where they wanted to quit. The artist who was told their work wasn't good enough. The scientist whose research was rejected, the athlete who was cut from the team, the writer who faced endless rejection letters. But those who keep going, those who refuse to let resistance stop them, are the ones who eventually break through. Resistance forces you to make a choice. You can let it define you, let it discourage you, let it convince you that you're not capable. Or you can use it. You can let it build you. You can let it strengthen you. You can decide that every challenge is simply another opportunity to prove to yourself that you are more capable than you ever imagined. Imagine you're climbing a steep hill. The higher you go, the harder it gets. The incline becomes steeper, the air becomes thinner, your legs start burning, and every step forward feels like a battle. But that difficulty doesn't mean you should stop climbing. It means you're making progress. The very fact that it's getting harder is proof that you are ascending. That's how life works. The resistance isn't there to push you back. It's there to push you forward. The things that challenge you the most are often the things that will define you the most. The struggles you face now are shaping the person you are becoming. The failures, the setbacks, the difficulties, they are not happening to stop you. They are happening to prepare you. They are happening to show you what you're made of. They are happening to build the resilience you will need when you finally reach the place you're meant to be. The reason most people never reach their full potential is because they see resistance as a sign to stop. They assume that difficulty means they are on the wrong path. But in reality, the greatest rewards always come on the other side of the greatest struggles. The pressure you feel, the resistance you face, the obstacles in your way, those are not signs of failure. They are signs of transformation. They are signs that you are growing. They are signs that you are becoming exactly who you are meant to be. Your faith will be tested before your blessings arrive. Faith isn't truly faith until it's tested. It's easy to believe when everything is going well, when doors are opening, when life feels effortless. But faith is not proven in comfort. It is proven in uncertainty. It is in the waiting, the struggling, the moments when nothing seems to make sense that real faith is developed. When you are close to a breakthrough, you will often face the greatest doubt. Things will seem to get worse before they get better. The opportunities you expected may not come through. The people you thought would support you may disappear. The plan you trusted may fall apart. And in those moments, it's easy to question everything. It's easy to wonder if you misheard, if you misunderstood, if you were wrong to believe in something greater. But that's exactly when faith matters most. Faith is trusting what you cannot see. It's believing in the unseen even when circumstances tell you otherwise. It's holding on to a vision that hasn't yet materialized, knowing deep down that just because you can't see the path doesn't mean it's not there. The greatest moments of growth happen in the unseen. The roots of a tree grow deep beneath the soil long before it ever breaks through the ground. A caterpillar transforms in the darkness of the cocoon long before it spreads its wings. The process is always hidden before the result is revealed. Many people give up right before their breakthrough because they mistake delays for denial. They assume that because something isn't happening now, it will never happen. But timing is everything. A seed planted in the wrong season will not grow no matter how much you water it. And sometimes the only thing standing between you and your blessing is time. Time to mature, time to develop, time to become the person who is ready to receive what is coming. Doubt will always try to creep in. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the louder the doubts will become. You will hear voices, some from others, some from within, that will try to convince you that you're wasting your time, that you're not good enough, that it's never going to happen. But faith is choosing to move forward anyway. Faith is doing the work even when you don't see the results yet. Faith is showing up, believing that even if nothing seems to be changing on the surface, everything is changing beneath it. Look at the people who have achieved great things, and you'll see that every single one of them had moments when faith was all they had. When there was no proof, no validation, no evidence that things were working in their favor. And yet they kept going. They kept believing. And eventually things shifted. The opportunities arrived. The right people showed up. The doors that seemed permanently closed suddenly opened. But the real transformation doesn't happen when the blessing arrives. It happens in the waiting. It happens in the moments when you want to quit but choose to keep going. It happens when you trust even when you don't understand. It happens when you let go of your need for control and surrender to the timing that is greater than your own. Faith is tested through silence, when prayers go unanswered, when progress seems non-existent, when every effort feels like it's leading nowhere, that is when faith is refined. Because faith is not about getting what you want when you want it. It's about trusting that what is meant for you will come when the time is right. It's about believing that delays are not rejections, but redirection. Every test of faith is an opportunity to strengthen your trust, to deepen your resilience, to build the kind of patience that only comes through experience. It's in the test that you learn what you're truly made of. It's in the challenges that you discover just how strong your belief really is. And it's in the darkest moments that faith becomes the most powerful force you have. God will isolate you before he elevates you. Isolation is one of the most misunderstood phases of growth. When people find themselves alone, separated from what was familiar, distanced from the crowd, they often assume something is wrong. They wonder if they've been forgotten, if they've taken a wrong turn, if they are being left behind. But isolation is not punishment, it is preparation. Before anything significant happens in your life, there will be a period where you feel set apart. You'll notice that certain friendships start to fade. Familiar routines no longer feel fulfilling, and the things that once brought you comfort no longer seem to fit. It is in this space of solitude that transformation begins, because before you can step into something greater, you need clarity. And clarity rarely comes in the noise. It comes in the quiet. It comes in the stillness. It comes when distractions are removed and you are left with nothing but yourself and God. Think about the most powerful figures in history, the ones who made an impact, the ones who changed the world. Almost all of them experienced a season of isolation before stepping into their calling. They had a period where they had to be alone, where they had to face their own thoughts, where they had to grow without the validation of others. Because elevation requires separation. You cannot go higher while holding on to everything and everyone from your past. Some people cannot go where you are going. Some mindsets cannot exist in the next level of your life. Some habits, some relationships, some environments, they are meant for a season, not for the destination ahead. Isolation forces you to confront yourself. When you're constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to ignore the deeper parts of who you are. It's easy to distract yourself with conversations, with entertainment, with external validation. But when you are alone, you are left with your thoughts, your fears, your insecurities. And that is where the real work happens. That is where you discover what you truly believe, what you truly desire, what you truly need to change. It is in isolation that growth happens at the deepest level. A seed doesn't sprout in the open air. It grows beneath the soil in darkness, away from sight. A caterpillar doesn't transform in public. It undergoes its greatest change within the solitude of a cocoon. And in the same way, your most significant transformation will happen when no one is watching. When you are in a space where you feel hidden, when you feel overlooked, when you feel forgotten, that is when you are actually being prepared for what's next. Many people resist this phase. They fight against it, trying to hold on to everything they once knew. They try to force connections, to fill their time with distractions, to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. But in doing so, they delay their own elevation. Because growth requires space. It requires shedding the old to make room for the new. It requires detaching from what is comfortable in order to embrace what is necessary. When you are being prepared for something bigger, not everyone will understand your journey. People may question why you're withdrawing, why you're changing, why you're no longer engaging the way you used to. Some may even take offense, assuming your distance is personal. But the truth is, some shifts are between you and God alone. Some transformations happen in silence, without explanation, without approval, and that is okay. Not everyone is meant to understand the process that is shaping you. The challenge of isolation is that it feels uncomfortable. Human nature craves connection, and when that connection is stripped away, it can feel like something is wrong. But discomfort is not always a bad thing. It is in discomfort that we grow. It is in discomfort that we are stretched, that we evolve, that we learn what we are truly capable of. This phase does not last forever, but it is necessary, because when you emerge from it, you will not be the same. You will be clearer, stronger, more focused. You will have a depth that could not have been developed in the noise of the crowd. You will step into your next season not just ready for elevation, but transformed by the preparation that took place in isolation. So if you find yourself in a season of waiting, of struggle, of isolation, don't mistake it for rejection. Don't assume that because things are hard, they're not meant for you. Don't let the discomfort convince you to quit before the breakthrough arrives. Because every challenge, every delay, every test is shaping you for what's ahead. The blessings you're waiting for aren't being withheld, they're being prepared. And more importantly, you are being prepared to receive them. The resistance is making you stronger. The waiting is making you wiser. The isolation is giving you clarity. Every part of this process has a purpose, even when you can't see it yet. So trust the process. Trust that nothing is being wasted. Trust that when the time is right, everything will align the way it was always meant to. And when that moment comes, you won't just receive the blessing, you'll be ready for it.